Sometimes, the scariest thing isn't a scream, it's a simple hello in the middle of the night. Not rushed, not shaken, just soft and repeated. Hello. You know something's wrong, you feel it, but you can't see it until it's too late. Tonight I'll tell you 3 true horror stories. Stories from people who lived what seemed like perfectly normal lives until they realized they were being watched, chosen, and faced something no one else would believe, except them. Story 1. The woman who said hello. When the watcher returns. I never feared the word hello until that night. Last week, my grandma asked me to house sit for a few days. She was off to Florida with her church group, and I, her helpful grandson, just had to stay in her cozy little house in the suburbs, sleep in the guest room where my brother and I used to stay every summer. The first night, I picked the bed by the window, closed the curtains, checked the locks on the front and back doors, and settled in for what I expected to be a peaceful night. I was scrolling through TikTok, texting some friends. Everything felt normal until I heard it. A woman's voice outside on the porch, soft, not yelling, not crying for help, just a simple word. Hello, repeated, every 10 seconds. I crept out into the living room, ears straining. The house didn't have a peephole, but the dining room window had a clear view of the porch. I tiptoed toward it and peeked through the blinds, and froze. There was a woman standing on the steps, long, messy hair. Her face was aged, but not in a kind, wrinkled way. It was cold, empty. She was staring directly at me, like she'd been waiting for that exact moment I looked out, and she said it again. Hello? Same voice, but this time, there was a faint, crooked smile, like a grin meant for the dead. I backed away, heart pounding, and ran to my room. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe she was a friend of Grandma's. Maybe she had the wrong house. But then, why didn't she knock? Why did she just stand there? I closed my door, pulled the blinds. Silence. I texted a few friends. An hour passed, then another, and then, bang! A loud thud against my bedroom window. I nearly fell off the bed. Then the voice came again, this time right outside the glass. Hello? Hands trembling, I yanked open the curtain and came face to face with her. Only a pane of glass between us. She was pressed against the window, eyes wide, unblinking, mouth twisted into a smile that didn't move. I shouted, "I'm calling the police." She didn't flinch, didn't speak, just stood there, staring. I bolted upstairs, slammed the spare bedroom door shut, and looked out from the second-floor window. She was still there, looking up, right at me, still motionless. I wrapped myself in a blanket and stayed awake all night. At 4 a.m., I looked again. She was gone. The next morning, I told Grandma. Her voice changed immediately, panic rising. She told me that just a few days ago, she saw a woman in the supermarket, someone who followed her through the aisles, smiling the entire time. She never bought anything, never spoke, just watched. I asked if she remembered the face. There was a long pause, then Grandma whispered, "I remember those eyes, perfectly. I've seen them before. They were outside your house, 30 years ago." I was about to ask what she meant, but she went silent, then hung up. That sentence still rings in my head. I've seen those eyes. Maybe I wasn't the one being watched that night. Maybe it was her, and whatever it was, had come back. But she wasn't there. Only me. Story 2. Stephanie. The name online. On the internet, anyone can be anyone. But some people, they only need you to believe they're real for a few minutes. I was a freshman at Syracuse University. After a rough breakup, I reinstalled Hinge, just looking for someone to talk to. And there she was, Stephanie. Blonde hair, gorgeous smile, lived nearby. She liked books, indie films, and had the same dry sense of humor I did. Everything felt too perfect. We messaged nonstop for a week. Then she asked if I wanted to see a movie. She offered to pick me up, said she had a car and would meet me at a quiet intersection near campus. I didn't question it. At 9 p.m., I waited on the corner. She texted, "Send me your location, I'm almost there." I did. Minutes later, a dark car pulled up. The window rolled down. A middle-aged man behind the wheel. He smiled. "You waiting for Stephanie?" I froze. "Yeah? Why?" "I'm her dad. She asked me to pick you up. Hop in." I took a step back. He looked way too old to be a college student's father. I asked why she didn't tell me. He said, "I don't let my daughter meet strangers without knowing who they are." I stared at him, then turned around and walked away. He yelled after me, "Hey, where are you going?" I kept walking, but dread crawled up my spine. A few blocks later, I noticed a car parked at the curb, same model. No headlights. As I passed, I tried to see inside, but the windows were too dark. Then a message lit up on my phone, from Stephanie. "Why didn't you get in the car with my dad?" I didn't reply. I walked faster. Just before reaching a main street, I heard glass shatter behind me. I turned. No one. I ducked behind a van, crouched, silent. Then I saw them. A pair of shoes, stepping out from the far side of the van. A voice rasped, "Come on back. I'll take you to her." I ran. Didn't stop until I reached my dorm. My hands were still shaking. On my phone, one final message from that number. "You're lucky. I almost choked you right there." I screenshot it, blocked the number, but I never deleted the app. Not because I wanted to date again, but because sometimes the Stephanie profile is still active, and sometimes it says she's viewing your story. Story 3. The basement behind the cloth. Silence doesn't mean safety. Sometimes it just means something's watching without a sound. I was 18, working a summer job at my old high school, mostly janitorial stuff, usually at night. I liked the night shift, less supervision, more time to be lazy, scroll my phone, and still get paid. One night my manager Tom left early, told me to move the leftover chairs from the gym to the basement storage and lock up after. The basement was used for everything: sports gear, old art projects, even life-size mannequins. It was damp, dim. The lights were yellow and barely lit the far corners. First trip down, everything seemed normal. I dropped off the chairs, went back upstairs. Second trip, something changed. One of the mannequins was no longer covered. I was sure it had a cloth on it earlier. A sheet was lying several feet away, like it had been pulled or thrown. I texted Tom, "Is anyone else in the building? The sheets moved." He replied, "No, why? Something wrong?" I didn't answer right away, because I saw something in the darkest corner. One of the covered mannequins. The sheet was subtly rising and falling, like someone underneath was breathing. I backed out, locked the basement, hands shaking. Tom texted again, "Go back down and check. Don't be a baby, be a man." I shouldn't have listened, but I did. When I returned, the sheet was on the floor. No one. I turned to leave. Thud, thud, thud. Metal clanging from above. I looked up. The vent was shaking. Something was crawling inside, slowly, deliberately, tracking me. Then it stopped, right above me. Bang! A slam so loud the vent dented inward. I ran, locked up, went straight home. The next morning, I checked my phone. Under airdrop photos was an image of me in the basement, my back turned, taken from behind. I never turned Bluetooth on that night. We tell ourselves terrible things only happen in movies, that it's just coincidence, a trick of the mind, paranoia. But those who've lived it, they know. Not every footstep is imagined, not every smile is friendly, and not every name online belongs to someone real. If you've experienced something no one else believes, share it. You might not be the only one.